Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you and all your family members will be in the best of their health. Today the topic that we're going to study is the human brain. Your brain is basically the boss of your body as it controls everything you do. Things like learning, thinking, feeling, dancing, and even breathing, and your heart rate. It's due to your brain that you can pull pranks on your siblings and your friends. And you won't even believe, not even the supercomputers can match its powerful ability to download, understand, and react to the volume of the information coming to you through your senses. As we have already studied earlier, that there are two main divisions of the human nervous system, that is, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Now, the central nervous system lies in midline of the body and is the coordinating center. It consists of brain and the spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves that connect the central nervous system to the rest of the body. Before going into the detail about the brain, let us quickly look into the structure and function of the nerves. Nerves. They are a cable-like bundle or union of several axons that are enveloped or enclosed by a covering made up of lipids. They branch out from the central nervous system and connect it to other body parts. Now, there are two types of nerves depending upon their area of origin, the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. The cranial nerves are the nerves which arises from the brain, for example, the optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, vagus nerve, olfactory nerve, etc. Whereas the spinal nerves arises from the spinal cord and they are named for the level of the spinal cord at which each one emerges. For example, there are 8 pairs of cervical nerves, 12 thoracic nerves, 5 pair of lumbar nerves, 5 pair of sacral nerves, and 1 pair of coccygeal nerve. There are 12 pair of the cranial nerves. Some of them are sensory, that is, they consist of the axons of sensory neurons. Some are motor in nature, that is, they consist of axons of the motor neurons. And some are mixed, that is, they consist of the axons of both sensory and motor neurons. The cranial nerves are largely concerned with the head, neck, and facial regions of the body. Whereas the spinal nerves, which originate from the spinal cord, there are 31 pairs of the spinal nerves, and all of them are mixed. That is, they consist of axons of both sensory and motor neurons. Now we will study in detail the structures comprising the central nervous system. The central nervous system, as we know, acts as a control system of entire nervous system. It comprises of the brain and the spinal cord, both of which act as the coordinators. Now we will study how the brain and the spinal cord are protected. Both the brain and the spinal cord, they are hollow, that is, they have cavities or empty spaces. The brain has cavities called the ventricles, which are 4 in number, whereas the spinal cord has a central hollow canal. Both of these hollow structures are filled with a fluid known as the cerebrospinal fluid or the CSF. This CSF helps to cushion the brain and the spinal cord from shock, bumps, and jolts. Brain is enclosed within the bony part of the skull called the cranium, whereas the spinal cord is enclosed within the vertebral column. Both the brain and the spinal cord are covered with 3 protective membranes called the meninges. The singular of the meninges is meninx. These protect the brain and the spinal cord and provide nutrients and oxygen to the tissues through their capillaries. The CSF is also present between the inner two most meninges. In animals, all life activities are under the control of the brain, which is the main coordinating organ of the body. The brain is divided into 3 parts, that is, the forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. We'll discuss each and every part in detail. The forebrain is the largest part of the brain and it consists of 3 main parts. That is, the cerebrum, thalamus, and the hypothalamus. The cerebrum is the topmost and the largest part of the brain. It is divided into two hemispheres, the left and the right cerebral hemisphere. The two hemispheres are not completely separate and are interconnected with each other by a band of axons called the corpus callosum. Now, the cerebral cortex. The upper layer or the surface of the cerebral hemisphere is called the cerebral cortex. It has large surface area and is folded in order to fit in the skull. Now, the cerebrum is also divided into four lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Each of the four lobes is designated to perform specific functions. In general, the functions of the cerebrum include: it controls reasoning, thinking, feelings, emotions, seeing, hearing, speech, memory, perceptions, decision making, etc. The next part of the forebrain is the thalamus. Where is it located? It lies below the cerebrum and it functions as a relay center. Now, what do I mean by a relay center? The thalamus receives and modifies sensory information except from the nose, and that we will learn later why, before they travel to the concerned parts or lobes of the cerebrum. Then comes the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is present at the base or the ventral side of the thalamus. In humans, it is roughly the size of an almond. The hypothalamus regulates the body temperature, thirst, hunger, water balance, sleep-wake cycle, etc. So far, we got to know the three basic divisions of the brain and we have studied the three parts of the forebrain. Next comes the midbrain, which we will study later, inshallah, in the next upcoming lecture. I hope you have grasped all the lecture's concept very thoroughly, and I wish that you listen to the video again and again for your conceptual clarity.